So we've been getting a lot of questions on how to properly clean and maintain your weapon system. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to make a video on just how I clean my weapon system, lube it, and maintain it. How you doing? I'm Steve Johnson, Intuitive Self-Protection, where we offer uncommon training for the everyday person. We just finished up a level 1 protective pistol course, so my gun needs to be cleaned. So why don't you get around behind my shoulder right here, and I'll show you how I go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so to get started, we want to make sure that we're working with a safe and clear weapon. So as you can see, there's no ammo in the magazine or in the magazine well, and nothing in the chamber. So this weapon is completely empty. So to get started, this is a Glock. Your disassembly methods may change slightly, but for the most part, if you're working with a modern striker and fire pistol, it's going to be somewhat similar to this breakdown method. So what you're going to do is point the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger, pull the slide back slightly, and you have these two takedown pins that you're going to pull back on. Let the slide go forward and pull the whole slide assembly off. From there, you're just going to put your frame over to the side, take your recoil, your captured recoil spring out, and take out the barrel. And then you're left with just the basic components right here. This is your basic field strip to clean and maintain your weapon system. So recoil assembly, barrel, slide, and frame. So I have to confess to you guys, this is our second take on this, so the gun is actually already clean. So I'm just going to walk you through the spots that you want to hit, and we're going to talk about the stuff I use and some of the methods that I use to clean and maintain that. So we'll just start basic with the captured recoil spring. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to go over what I use to clean. So you don't need much. I have just an old grease rag here to wipe down the parts with. I have a bore cleaning snake. If you have a rod with a wire brush, that works great as well. This just packs down a little smaller for me, so I can put it in the range bag so I can, do my instructor thing. Powder blast, break free. This stuff works awesome to get rid of any built-on carbon scoring or anything like that. So definitely recommend some type of powder blast. It doesn't have to be this brand, but some kind of good solvent that will get all that crud out of your gun. Recommend some kind of scraping tool as well as the rag. This is just an old skewer, like for shish kebabs. I just cut it down to scrape out all the little stuff. And this tool is actually for an AR-15, but I still use it for getting the hard built-on carbon scoring stuff. I just use this hook right here. And then you probably have a good idea to just have a basic toothbrush. Alright, so that's for cleaning. And then for maintenance, I like to use a snap cap to check some of the parts that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So this is not a live round, and just for the safety procedures, there are no live rounds in this room at all. So when you're doing stuff like this, screwing around with guns, make sure that there's no live ammo present. Super important, guys. If you're running an optic on your gun, I like to check my screws and torque settings with just a basic, however your optic is mounted to your weapon or your slide. Just check the tightness, and then a nice soft rag to clean off the lenses, and then a good lube. We'll talk about this a little bit later down the line. So cleaning procedures, pretty straightforward with the captured recoil spring. Just spray it down real good with powder blast and wipe it down with your rag. You don't really get a lot of carbon buildup on this too much. It's usually pretty free and clear stuff, so just get off any crud that may be on there, and these clean up pretty quick. What you want to focus on mostly is these three parts: your barrel, your slide, and your frame. So for the barrel, if you can look, the parts that are going to be have really built up carbon scoring are going to be your breech face and your feed ramps right here. So you want to make sure that you spray those down real good and scrape off any excess buildup that's on there. This is the stuff that could potentially make your gun malfunction, and that's obviously a bad day. And also the locking lugs underneath here, right here, can get a little carbon buildup on those. So you want to make sure that you clean those up as best you can, get as much of that buildup knocked out as possible. And then this is also where you would use the in my case, the bore cleaning snake. And all you do is start from the breech, which this is where the bullet loads. This is the muzzle, this is the breech. Push the little weighted piece down, and then just easy peasy pull it through right there, and that cleans it. So do that as many times as you feel necessary. 2 or 3 times should be more than enough. And then that's how you clean your barrel. For your slide, you want to get, again, your scraping tools, your break-free powder blast, and just spray all up in here, all up in the rails, and hit it with your toothbrush or whatever kind of brush you have. You want to get in these little nooks and crannies. You don't have to super detail clean it, just get all the big stuff out. The rails shouldn't have too much buildup on it, and you want to also hit inside the slide right here as well. So while we're here, we're just going to do some maintenance checks. So you want to check your extractor, make sure everything's good. And this is where the snap cap comes in, guys. So you're just going to push your snap cap up in there and make sure that you got good tension on that casing and that extractor spring is nice and strong still. This one's feeling pretty good. So yeah, so happy with that. You want to know what right feels like. So if you've got a brand new gun or something that doesn't have a lot of rounds through it, it's probably still got the proper tension and grip on it. So go ahead and take a snap cap and put it up in there. Hook the casing behind the claw of the extractor, and try and manipulate it and see what that feels like. So if you know what right feels like, you'll know what wrong feels like. Also, you want to check out your firing pin. So on a Glock, what you want to do is push down on your extractor spring right there and push on this tab, and that will make your firing pin go forward. What you're looking for is a nice rounded, non-mushroomed or bulbous or broken firing pin. This one looks good, so that one's good to go as well. So, and that's another spot you want to clean is that face right here to make sure that there's no carbon buildup right there either. For your frame, very similar to your slide, you want to hit the metal parts right here that make contact with the slide, and this is where all the movement and friction is going to be. So hitting that with your scraper and or your brush and the powder clean. You want to clean these areas right here real good. You want to clean in here. There's a lot of powder that gets built up on these spots as well. So make sure you can go in there with your little detail pick or whatever you have. Dental picks work really great for this kind of stuff. Just make sure you're not pushing too hard into the polymer. And same thing back here. These are your guide rails right here that the slide functions on. So these need to be free and clear of any real buildup or debris. All right. From there, since we're doing our maintenance checks, oh, one more thing with maintenance checks I forgot. Recoil spring. This is probably going to be one of the first things that will go bad on your gun. These are really cheap and easy to replace, so I think Glock recommends about every 5,000 rounds you replace these. Just do it. They're super cheap. You don't need anything fancy. Just get the factory recoil spring and keep your gun running the way it's supposed to be. Yep, cool on that. So for maintenance on your red dot, or cleaning your red dot, I just make sure that your screws are nice and tight. So I'll pick the proper size. That's not the proper size. This is the proper size. I'll just make sure that those are torqued down real good. And those are good. They're not moving anywhere. And a little pro tip, guys, if you're working with an optic or if you're going to bolt anything to your gun, blue Loctite is definitely your friend. So make sure you're Loctiting all your screws down. And then I'll just also, at this point, you're probably going to get a lot of splash and spray from the cleaning solution on the lens of your optic, so I just like to take a soft cloth and clean that really well. Alright, so that should do it for cleaning. So I'm going to take all this cleaning stuff and put this off to the side. And now we're going to talk about lubrication. So this might get some people up in a little bit of a tizzy, but what I use for lubrication is white lithium grease. There's two methods or two schools of thought for lubing a gun. Some people use oil, some people use grease. Pick whatever you know, whatever tickles your fancy. I use grease for a number of reasons. A, it stays on the gun and the parts I want it to stay on. Also, it is designed to handle high heat and high cyclic rates. The guy who turned me on to this is actually, this particular is Jim Fuller, formerly of Rifle Dynamics. I believe he's with Fuller Phoenix now. I think that's his new company. One of the top, if not the top, custom AK builder in the world. So he uses this stuff, so I think it's good enough for my stuff, but that's all I'll really say about that. Also, it's cheap too. I think this tube was like $5 and it'll probably last me the next 30 years because you don't really need much of it. So that's enough of that. On to lubing the gun. Alright, so like I said, you don't need much. Just a little pea size really will do. Just something like that is more than enough. What you want to do is hit the rails on your frame. So right here, pretty much any spot that's going to make contact with that slide. Right there. I'm going to just get a little bit right there. So that's the frame. That's pretty much done. Don't need a lot of excess on that. I like to lube up the barrel. You don't need a lot on this either. Just a nice thin coat will do. I like to put it right there on the locking lugs because this is a lot of high wear areas on that. Put that aside, and then on the slide I just put a little bit underneath right there, and you don't really need to lube the rails because you put it on the frame. So when you put this on, this will catch all that grease right there. So then now we're just on the reassembly. Barrel goes back in. There's your recoil spring back in, no problem. Put it back on, and then quick function test. Works. Grab your rag, wipe down any excess, which I got a little bit right there. Again, you don't need a whole lot of this grease, guys. A little bit goes a long way. And that's how you clean it. Alright, hope that was helpful. Alright guys, hope you found the information in that video helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. If you want to come train with us, follow the link down in the description box. Once again, I'm Steve Johnson with Intuitive Self-Protection. We'll see you on the deck.